we decided to see how can we promote compliance. So I've liked some of the presenters. They have highlighted some of the vital information. For example, when I was engaging some of our members who are dealing in second-hand cars, and we are trying to process a facility to facilitate them for economic recovery, I discovered that majority of them, they don't have TIN numbers. And when I asked, then how do you try to carry out business? They told me, you cannot believe that even within a month, they can sell like 200 millions just for simple old second-hand cars. So the fact is that they were benefiting a lot not to comply, not to formalize. So I think with such a great engagement, formalization strategy, which the Ministry of Finance is championing, and then URA, will do a very vital role in trying to tax the high net worthy individuals. And then where somehow I'm differing from my comrade who has presented here about the high net worth individuals and avoiding taxes using loans. I don't know. I've tried to access loans, but what I've discovered in Uganda that the loans are very expensive. So even if you avoid paying taxes and then you hide in the disguise of acquiring a loan, when I was trying to acquire a 100 million loan, I spent over 6 million. So it's so expensive, minus the rate. Even there are so a lot of requirements which are required. So what I think, formalization, when we formalize in businesses, we can clearly identify these individuals. That's why I like the presenter who highlighted that these informal sector individuals, they're becoming rich, even they are enjoying more benefits even than those comrades whom we think they are rich. Because basing on our survey, we have discovered that most of the comrades we think they are rich, by the way, they are so broke. They are very poor. When we try to engage some of our members here in Kampala, you're finding that the banks are confiscating their security. They're auctioning them. Then that one is a very broke gentleman. If you are rich, we think that already you can meet your obligation. I don't think that there is any individual who would wish his asset to be auctioned. So with such engagements, it will enrich the reports to the Ministry of Finance before implementation. We should not rush with implementing such policies, because even one time when I was listening to some presenters, I thought that can't this policy also encourage people not, we are trying to build the capacity of Ugandan business community. And you find now the economy is almost all in the hands of foreigners. You look at the banks, you look at the majority of industries, now in real estates. So how can we cater for these Ugandans who want to become rich?
We want to go after the rich people, but we don't want to push them out so that they take their route outside the country, particularly for those that have gotten it that way. Secondly, no country has really managed to use this route, this kind of progressive taxation, to redistribute wealth successfully. Why? Some of the reasons he mentioned. You are asking the market to burn down the forest. So that becomes extremely difficult. So the excuse has been the informal sector is not paying tax. The informal sector is not paying tax. And everyone is parroting the same kind of thing. Now, we are saying that 68% of our taxes are indirect, meaning they are consumption taxes. So it means that as you consume, you pay. So now when you say the informal sector are not paying tax, then you're talking about something different. You're talking about direct taxes, you're talking about corporate tax and things of the sort. And, that's an entirely different kind of discussion. But looking at our trajectory, I don't see us shifting from indirect to direct taxes, in spite of their weaknesses. Now, in our context, when we talk about high net worth individuals, there are not many. And as he mentioned, and I would say this, even if there's a risk of contradiction, if you look at, the people building the businesses, setting up new arcades, new this, most of them are actually civil servants or politicians. That is the truth. It's very lucrative to work with government these days. You see? Now, they declare pay, of course, they are clean taxpayers, but we know that they are getting a lot of illicit wealth. And so if you're talking about high net worth individuals, apart from business people, this is also a group you really need to look at very carefully. But yes, we need to tax the rich, but we need to also avoid over-taxation or bullying, and that should apply for the rich and for the SMEs as well. Unfortunately, the brunt has been directed towards very small businesses in this regard because of what I've mentioned, the stereotype. Formal sector, very big, they are not paying taxes and so on. Yes, it's true they could pay more, but in an indirect tax structure, I think we may not get as much as we think we can get from there. And I think my colleague, Mr. Nagenda, said that high net worth individuals are hiding in the SME sector. No, it was the gentleman from the Ministry of Finance, and Mr. Nagenda concurred. This kind of mindset, we should allow people to start and run businesses in the open. If we make the system extremely lucrative, extremely restrictive, we create the incentive for people to go underground. And it's hard now, I think, looking at the new innovations that URA bring, it's hard to make a lot of money and then you stay below the radar. It's very difficult. I don't see how you can do it. Now, on the issue of loans and tax, in finance we call it the interest tax shield. If you borrow money, you gain some benefits. These are general things that Uganda alone cannot change. It means that we just have to empower people to see how best they can take advantage of these kinds of things. And that's why we say we need to bring the cost of finance down so that SMEs don't have to rely on savings, on family and friends in order to get money. Now, my proposals. One, we need to have inheritance tax. Inheritance tax is not taxing the estate of the dead. There's a difference between inheritance tax and estate tax. Estate tax, the estate of the dead is paying tax. Inheritance tax, the guy receiving the things is paying tax. And there are thresholds. We can say if you're inheriting above 5 billion shillings, you pay tax. If you're a poor person and you're transferring 200,000, it's okay, don't pay tax. So I don't agree with an estate tax. I agree with an inheritance tax that has a threshold in order to ensure that we don't perpetuate these inequalities across generations. The loss declaration tax, I think this is extremely difficult. But I think we could look at the presumptive tax kind of approach to say, if you make this consistently for 10 years and you're not paying, pay this nominal fee. So I think that's something that's perfectly possible. Limit tax incentives. Yes, we should limit tax incentives, and we should support SMEs to also take advantage of these tax incentives. We should also raise the top income tax rates. We shouldn't make it flat, you see. Now, saying corporate tax is 30%, no. If you be above a certain kind of turnover or profits or whatever, you could pay a higher rate, and then if you pay less, if you get less, you could pay lower, so that it's, it's more progressive in that way. He mentioned about taxing value, taxing wealth. I think that's extremely, extremely important. Beneficial ownership, I think that's being worked on. As I conclude, I want to say, if we have a very restrictive tax regime, there's a risk of people offshoring their wealth, again, which can create a bit of problem. So it means we have to create a balance. Yes, we have to go make sure that rich people pay their fair share. We have to ensure that SMEs pay their fair share, but we must have a business environment that allows people to start and run their business.
And right, that is it. When you hear it from a situation whereby they do believe, some of the private sector players do believe that make systems free for people to work in the open at the end of the day. And of course, also seeking for taxing the rich as well, but not overtaxing them in the same way as we look at how to increase the level of taxes in the country. This is Smart Means Business. As we head into the break, just to remind you that the markets on this platform are officially open. They officially opened at 8:15 a.m. and now you can easily invest in government bonds. The USSD code is *292#. Follow the prompt, invest. What you need is just a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings, and you're good to go. Trust me, you are good to go with it. And Zabu is giving you that advantage today. Invest in government bonds, make it count, please do. And remember, the markets will be closed at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. They are only fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays. And as a matter of fact, there's only one public holiday in February, if you are to look at that. So why don't you invest in government bonds today with Zabu? Zabu, my money, my future, powered by Altex East Africa. Do something new. After the break, I'll be joined by Barija Andrew to give us more updates from the entertainment world, as I'll be bringing you more from sports business. Stick around. Good morning.